The most widely published book in human history reveals that we are created in the image of God. Throughout our human journey, each encounter is an opportunity to see the shared humanity in ourselves and others. Regardless of one's views on religion, each experience and each story weaves us together towards a common path. A path of transformation, a process of growth and understanding, a recognition that, at our core, we share a common destiny. What does the search for truth really mean in our lives? How can we find a sense of unity in a world so diverse and divided? As we reflect on these questions, we start to uncover a fundamental connection that binds us all beyond our differences. Welcome to Created in the Image of God, Building Vibrant Communities, with our host, Wade Franson. Today's episode is Wake Up Jesus People, From Hustle to Holy Habits.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is Created in the Image of God. I'm your host, Wade Franson. We're here with episode 259. Exciting. That shows how many people are actually interested in what we have to say, how we say it, and the various diverse viewpoints that we present on this show. Today, we have Jason Heinritz. He is an author, an entrepreneur, and a ministry leader on a mission to wake up Jesus people, which is also the title of his book. In addition to a book, he has a 40 Forge challenge and a journal that goes with the book to help challenge people and to establish deep, sustainable rhythms with Jesus. He had a backstory, a previous life as a successful sales leader, and today he focuses those energies and those skills on kingdom work. Welcome to the studio, Jason.
Yeah, thanks, Wade, for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure. We've been working on getting this show together here for a little while, and excited to actually have you present to the audience. We always like to get to know you a little better at the core of your being, those forces and circumstances that shaped you in your early years. So tell us a little bit about your parents, what it was like growing up, Jason.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Waukesha, suburb of Milwaukee in Wisconsin. Born and raised. I had a very good upbringing, I'd say, for the most part. My parents did their best in a conservative Christian home. I was involved in church throughout growing up, but it wasn't really my own. I kind of just did it because it's what our family did. And then I went off to college at UW-Whitewater, small Division III school down in Wisconsin, and I was on the track and football team there. I had a really growing up. I really didn't, I received love from accomplishments and from being liked. I was bullied when I was younger. I had, I just had some things that didn't help me, and I had to work through it. I'm still working through to this day, but just I was hungry to grow, hungry to be a captain, hungry to have accomplishments and be recognized. So throughout college, I found a direct sales company called Cutco Cutlery. And so I started that and was just addicted. I was rushing after all the success, all the accolades. I was very good at it as a rep throughout college. And then I opened up my own office in Wisconsin in 2008. And I've been building my own kingdom, if you will, that whole time. And just pursuing sales results and trips and all these things for me. Although I was still a Jesus guy, I was more 1 foot in the world, 1 foot out throughout my 20s. And then in my 30s, I got married, had a couple kids. We can dive into more details in all this, but I was for sure still building my own kingdom until just probably about 4 years ago. And I made a big mental switch to fully dive in, actually put God number one. And it's amazing how things have just fallen in place and the blessings that have come to. So that's a very short version of a background here.
Well, and on a personal level, a couple of little details to dive into. I know we talked about this background before because I'm located in Wisconsin today. My wife sold Cutco for a brief period of time. I don't think she experienced the success that you did. So therefore, she didn't stick with it all that long. But I think we still have a set of Cutco knives here, and they're good. So, but Waukesha, right? So my daughter is going to be going to college up that way. Carroll College. You familiar with that?
Totally.
Backyard, right?
Oh, yeah, I was recruited to play football there. It was good.
But you chose Whitewater.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So obviously that gives a familiar feel to this, as does this whole one foot in, one foot outside, and the background. So what was that transition like? What you can't serve God and mammon, right? Now, obviously we live in the world. You also can't, you shouldn't muzzle the ox that treads out the grain. We're intended to experience success and even a degree of wealth by applying biblical principles, et cetera, et cetera. But it's finding that balance. So what was that really like for you? Unpack a little bit, what was going through your mind, and what steps did you have to take to shift from pursuing those goals and then blending that with a more spiritual, whole-time orientation towards God and service to him?
Yeah, I had a few wake-up calls, and so I'll explain my 20s and then my wake-up call I had. So yeah, in my 20s, I'd seen success in sports, seen success in Cutco. I was doing very well, and I was having a lot of fun, partying a lot, having a good time, working hard, partying hard my whole life. Like I kept an hour or two for God on Sunday morning, but then the rest of the week it was Jason's show and my future.
And if I may interrupt briefly, I know we talked about the camera getting schizophrenic here, but I'm not from the Midwest, right? Now, alcohol was always around growing up. I belonged to a denomination that believed it was okay to drink. In fact, when we worshiped during the holy days, you were to come before God and worship him with wine and strong drink. People don't know that that's in the Bible, right? The Old Testament. But, obviously moderation in alcohol and alcoholism is a terrible scourge, right? But until I came to the Midwest, I'd never really been to sort of engagement parties, this, that, the other kind of party where the girls were on the dance floor double fisting it with a drink in each hand. I'd never seen that before I came to Wisconsin.
Yep, that's just the Friday night.
So unpack that a little bit more, especially because I have kids coming up through high school, entering college now, and what can you say about that? And for parents, for kids, and you said wake up call, but you kind of glossed over it.
So for parents, I would say, so not to scare them all, but so some of my friends that were most wilding out in college were the ones that were so protected and sheltered in high school. And so they were new, they're figuring out this college thing, and they're like, whoa, look at all this freedom. And so they overindulged. And I think, really made a lot of mistakes, I'd say. And that's not all of them, but in general, I was still involved with like InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, a local church, and things like that. And that was good, but it still was the Sunday thing. And then I was a good guy for the rest of the week, but still binge drinking, partying Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And that was basically my life throughout college. And because I was conditioned for that and enjoyed it, it kind of continued all throughout my 20s, even in my 30s a little bit, where it wasn't like the go out. Well, in my 20s, it was for sure like a Friday, Saturday thing. And then, just not be too hungover on Sunday for church. But yeah, I was for sure 1 foot in the world, 1 foot out. I was, I was getting high a lot. I was sleeping around, I'd say from age 23. So I was actually pretty wholesome. Like I didn't drink till I was 19, my freshman year in college.
Your mileage may vary on that as you described this, because we have a diverse show here, people from all ends of the spectrum. Yeah. Some are very, very conservative who may be recoiling in horror right now at this.
Yeah. So I was going to spring break, my freshman year. I'm like, I can't go there unexperienced. So, I started once I was 19 drinking. I was, after college, I guess I waited to have sex till after college, but then still had a bad 5-year stint. Things before I recommitted. So it's definitely, that's what I mean by 1 foot in the world, 1 foot out. I love Jesus. I was doing some devos here and there, but it was really about fun and also Jason's show and Jason's success in my 20s. But so I was doing that, and then to get to the wake up call, it just slowly, day by day, percentage by percentage, I was wearing myself out to become, of this world and not set apart. And so I was living with 3 non-Christian roommates. I was partying. I was building my own kingdom in work. And then I found a girl who was really fun, really exciting. We started hanging out a lot. And within 6 months, so I'd never wanted to live with someone, a partner. And because my 3 non-Christian roommates liked her a lot, and she's over at our house partying all the time anyway, and she needed a place to stay, it just made sense. So I definitely, set myself up for failure there. And we were all living together. And within 6 months, I asked her to marry me. And it was all based on pleasures, Wade. Like, it was, when I think it was all about the sex, the fun, the partying. And I was so blinded by that pleasure that as it got closer to the wedding, and I'm going, hey, we need to make church a priority. Hey, we need to stop having sex before marriage. Hey, we need to actually make God number one. And then there was some uncertainty and resistance there. So as it got closer and closer, I'm realizing this isn't going to work. This is actually really bad. And I was really worried and nervous to bring it up for like a month. And it got to be about 2 months before the wedding. Deposits are down, invites are out. And I'm like, we can't do this. And I didn't tell her no forever. I just said, hey, I'd rather delay a wedding than call off a marriage. And so that was really a tough part. That was, I think that was around August of, when was that, 2012? So that was a turning point. That was a wake-up call, Wade, where thank God he stopped me from that and helped me to wake up and realize. And then that next year was a year of transformation. I got into morning routines. I dove back into church and making God number one. I attended a Tony Robbins event that fall as well. And then I just spent a year of not dating, doing nothing. And it was just about me and my growth, my relationship with Christ and all that. And that was such a turning point in my life. So any thoughts or questions?
Well, it does. And I really, really appreciate you telling this story and opening up. I want to go one level deeper. We haven't really taken a show in this direction.
Let's go.
Ever, I think. But this is really, I think, a rich mine to go down into for a moment. I want to understand, what was it that made you feel okay and good with what you were doing? I mean, I'm imagining, for example, hey, I'm successful at work. So check that box. Things are good. I have friends. I have relationships. Check that box. I'm now moving towards. So then flip that. And what was it that said, wait a minute, this isn't right? There's kind of a maturing, maybe a late adolescence, early adulthood thing going on here, I feel.
Yeah, it was a thinking about my future and thinking about what I really wanted. And knowing, like, even though I was 1 foot in the world, 1 foot out, I knew I should be more in the word, more keeping God number one, more following his commands and doing that. And so as it got closer, I realized, and there were red flags there for sure. It's not like I ignored them, or I totally ignored them. It's not like I didn't notice them, but I thought things would hopefully get better. I hope she changes. I hope I change all this. And it was for sure a blinding. I was for sure blinded by the pleasures and the instant fun that made me just push that off to the side until the wedding, the actual date, created a deadline and an urgency like, whoa, things aren't changing. And as we went through premarital counseling, and I talked to my parents as well, I said, hey, here's what I'm hoping, here's my concerns, my best man as well, I consulted with, and pretty much all of them came up with the same question of, okay, what if she doesn't change? Would you marry her? And I said, hell no. And it was just a hope and a positive outlook that she would, and that we would change, but she was very resistant to it. And it just got real. And I realized I don't want to live my life in this where I'm at. I want to be living at this standard. I'm living at this standard. If I don't have a partner to live up to that standard with, and they're actually holding me back, we both were pretending, Wade, for each other. So she was on one end of the spectrum. I was on the other when it came to like faith and future focus and not living a party life. And so as it got closer to the wedding, we just realized we were both pretending for each other, but we really were deep down internally on either side.
Thank you so much. And so one last question on this, I guess, and that is, the appeal, the desire to serve God and get into his word.
Mhm.
Where was that coming from? Tell us a little bit more about the
Yeah.
inner transformation that was going on within you.
Yeah, my 20s is more of a check off. Is more of a cool, got it done. Just a quick little Bible app Devo, not diving in, not reading the actual Bible fully through. I wasn't like, I went to church, but I wasn't involved. I wasn't serving. I wasn't fully like involved with worship and fully surrendering. It was just, all right, cool. I feel good. Checked off. Yeah, I'll learn more about that later. Oh, sure. As I get older, I'll dive more in and serve. But it was definitely just a check off and no thing that I could be more involved with, but I felt good with God. And I felt like I was doing enough for where I was at because I was blinded by the success and chasing my pleasures, that I wasn't aware of the deeper relationship with him and those benefits. Now, I caught glimpses, I guess, but I don't think I wasn't open and surrendered enough to fully understand that peace and that joy, because I was having fun, but I wouldn't say it was a full out peace and joy mentality that really comes with being in alignment with him.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for unpacking that. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, which will actually be a video that will explain some of what you do now, the book you've written, Wake Up Jesus People, and how that applies. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more of Jason Heinritz, and to understand what he's doing now, how he's doing it, what's in that book, and how it's changing lives. Don't go anywhere.
Most people don't drift away from God overnight. It happens slowly, through distraction, routine, and spiritually sleepwalking through life. But what if your mornings could change everything? What if every day started with intention, with prayer, scripture, reflection, and real time with Jesus? In Wake Up Jesus People, Jason introduces the Sacred Start, a simple daily practice designed to help you stop coasting in your faith and start walking closely with God again. Not just on Sundays every single day. Because a strong faith doesn't happen by accident. It's built daily, in the quiet moments, in the mornings, in the habits that bring you closer to Jesus. Wake Up Jesus People. Available now on Amazon.
Welcome back to Created in the Image of God. We're here with Jason Heinritz, who's from my neck of the woods, where I am now, up in Wisconsin, but out in the great Northwest now, in the Seattle area. And tell us a little bit about what you're doing out there, as well as how it came to be that you wrote this book, Wake Up Jesus People.
Yeah, totally, Wade. So there's many things I'm doing right now. So I'm still a Hall of Fame direct sales manager for Wisconsin, the Upper Peninsula for Cutco. So I'm doing that virtually. And then I also have the book and the journal. I'm also helping out a church. So we moved out here to the Pacific Northwest to help plant a church. So we're very involved at Life Church Green Bay. My wife and I were there for about 10 years. Couple years, last years we were there. We were leading our young adults ministry. It was awesome. So much fruit and growth, not just in the church, but also in our marriage from that. And our pastors had a vision to open up 5 new spots and 5 new territories that people were running out of, places like Portland and LA and Seattle. And so it just came about that they said, hey, we are looking to plant a church out in Seattle. Are you guys down? So we obviously had some prayer and fasting that went into that, and visiting out in the territory. It really was like a few-year conversation, actually, with a handful of couples that were definitely open to it. But it got real, and we moved out here because of that in August of 2025. And man, was that a faith jump. So it's been so cool to see the fruit from that. It's been hard. It's like starting a business. It is really hard. You have to have a lot of faith, and especially coming from this really vibrant 2,000 person church to now building it to where, we have like 50 attendees. It's just definitely a different situation, but so cool. This last Sunday, just had 8 baptisms, which is really cool. And to be a part of that. So my wife is an executive pastor with them. I'm basically my role, I'm not a pastor, but my role is a marketplace ministry ambassador. So I'm more of kind of like a leader of the guys in the marketplace with the church, but doing that. And then also have the, like I mentioned, the book, the journal, and the 40 Forge Challenge that I'm doing as well.
So I'm hearing from a number of places and some of the interviews that I'm doing that there's actually kind of a revival going on. Not in a big way, not in a dramatic way like some of the things in history, but that some of our younger people are kind of waking up. Are you feeling that? And how does your book play into maybe that trend? Not that you caused it, not that you're writing it, but it just seems like a coincidence.
It is very interesting, right? I think God is preparing for, yeah. And so he's waking people up, not only the sleepers, right, of the young people, but everyone, and also helping other people rise up who are ready to go to the next level in his army, if you will, and leadership and books and podcasts and all that stuff. But I would say yes, we've noticed it. So in Green Bay, when my wife and I took it over, there's about 15 or so people in the group, basically 18 to 29. And then within about a year and a half, we had 60 plus attending on a regular basis. It was so cool to see them grow, and they're just hungry and they're open, and they see there's so much that the world offers that is not fulfilling them. And Jesus, the more they find him, the more they're realizing this is the answer that I've been searching for. I've been searching in all the wrong places. So I have seen that. And we do feel that for sure. The book has been in my heart for a long time, way before this, I guess, revival, if you will. So to take it back, as you're asking a little bit more about how I wrote the actual book. So back in, like when I said, with my call off of the wedding, and then diving back into personal growth and morning routines and all that, since fall of 2012, I've been practicing this morning routine that I call the sacred start. So there's 5 components of it. All right. So it is exercise. So this is every day, every morning. Exercise, journaling, affirmations from scripture, and then reading the Bible, and then so exercise, journal, prayer, affirmations. I forgot if I said all 5. I think I did. But basically, I had a little stuttering attack, so I got a little distracted. But yeah, so I've been doing that, and just, man, through all the ups and downs of life, to have that as an anchor and to have that as something that really grounds me and sets me up for the rest of the day. I've loved this morning routine and ritual. There's some evening routines as well with it, but basically just starting every day with Jesus, getting myself right, so I can attack the day in my best self, as my best self. And it's been awesome. So seeing that and then sharing it with people in our church and friends, and just seeing, a lot of Jesus people who might come to faith, but who don't really know what does it look like to be a daily Christian. What does it look like? Sure, there's sermons and books on to love more and to be more generous and all this, which is great. But what are the practical, like, what should I do daily to be this Jesus person? And so when I'm waking up every morning, now my routine is a couple hours a day. It could be 30 minutes, but really it's every day getting up and spending that time to make myself right. So that way, by the time now as a father, when the boys wake up and get them to school and I start my work day, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling filled up. I'm feeling as my best self. I feel like I'm battle ready. All right, if you're watching the video of this, so the book has a warrior on the front, and the title is Wake Up Jesus People. And the subtitle is Life-Giving Disciplines to Awaken the Warrior Within. So a lot of it is morning routines, but there's a lot more into it. So I just saw practices, Wade, that I was doing, that I was learning, and that it filled me up, and it was so great. I'm like, how are not more people doing this? But also as a new Jesus person, it's like, well, or just wherever you come from, it's like, what does it look like daily? And why do the mornings matter? So
I want to jump in, because you mentioned Jesus people and Jesus person, and a person of my generation, it has a little bit of a different connotation, because back in the late 60s and 70s, you had the Jesus people movement. I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
But the image that comes to mind are, sort of long-haired hippies putting flowers into the muzzles of guns, right? Yeah. And yet you've got a warrior on the cover. So just compare and contrast that a little bit with the Jesus people movement as it's maybe caricaturized. true or not, or
Yeah.
oversimplified as what it was versus what how you're approaching it.
Yeah, totally. There's a few components to that. So one is that Christians, can definitely mean a lot to different denominations, right? Different rules and regulations. And I want to get to like, hey, as a unit, as a nationwide, worldwide people who love Jesus and want to follow Jesus, let's unite and rise up. I feel like we do too much bickering on the 10% that's different or that doesn't really matter. Like, what are the majors, right? That you believe in Jesus, he died for you, rose again, and you're following him and trying to obey as much as possible, right? But it's like, I also feel like when you say God, that can mean many different things as well. So it's very clear, it doesn't matter what denomination, it doesn't matter, what church necessarily. It's, hey, you love Jesus, are you following him? And are you loving him and loving people, right? And so, and also when you think about Jesus and who I want to be as a man, as a leader, as a husband and father, Jesus was a perfect example of a leader. And you think about his impact. If you're a business person, he is the ultimate CEO. He took 12 disciples, right, and 30 years to create this movement of thousands of years now. And he was loving and kind, but he was just. He was not afraid to get up in someone's face and call them out in a loving way and in a truthful way. And that's who I want to be. I want to be loving and kind, but I don't want to just let things slide. And I want to be able to confront and encourage in truth and love when it's needed. So that's why we talk in our church about being Jesus people.
Awesome. Thank you so much for unpacking that. So you've got this daily routine, obviously, that you start your day, and that's great to live by example and teach others. What about the community life that you have, the youth work that you're doing? What does that look like? Are there any particular characteristics that you want to highlight? Because part of what's beneath that question is, okay, the revival. Why are these young people attracted to Jesus in particular, but also church, religion, versus what you left behind, when you decided I can't go down that route any further. I got to move over to this side of the road.
Yeah, I think it's truth. I think when you look at all their other people who have led them, things that have been said to fulfill them, whether it's money or success, whether it's all the partying, whatever it may be, that they're finding out the hard way or from previous generations that isn't working. Like, I don't want that, or clearly that this didn't work for me. And so sure, there's a lot of questions in faith, and sure, there's some things that it kind of hard to grasp, or you don't fully understand. But when you look at what's trustworthy and like also a true feeling, a long-lasting feeling, and what you can see that's changed for good, right? It's following Jesus. And so I think a lot of young people, as they're waking up, they're realizing, gosh, this just feels so good. This feels right. I'm just a better person because of this. I feel fulfilled. I'm having miracles happen. I'm having life change happen. I can't explain it. But all I can explain is that I've been more diving in to my faith. And so I think that tangible just feeling and result that people are getting and seeing, I think is helping. And I just think there's, unfortunately, might ruffle some feathers, but just like with governments and school systems and what we were told being raised that was going to make us happy, the whole cookie cutter, do this and you'll get this. We're just not seeing it. And I think also more experienced people are being more open to how they really feel and how they like what the real situation is. And yeah, apparently what they didn't work if they're not happy where they're at the end of their life. So yeah, that's my version, my opinion.
Well, I think that's a great segue to go into the next segment, which is for you personally, but also for the congregation and the groups that you're working with. Where are you growing next? Because I'm getting a sense of people being disillusioned in a big way or a small way, and looking for answers and finding them in the gospel message, right? Jesus came preaching, the different gospels record it slightly differently. The kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God, in different ways, right? And the kingdom, a kingdom has a king, it has subjects, it has territory, and it has laws, right? So what does that look like, and how are they digging in, rubber meets the road, to change the community that they're a part of? How are they contributing a different mode of thinking, a different mode of acting, a different mode of being, and where is it leading? I'm kind of getting the sense that this foundation is being laid, but you might have some ideas on where this should go next with the growth of these churches and the growth of the community. So when we come back from this commercial break, we'll jump into that. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more of Jason Heinritz on Created in the Image of God.
In a world where religions often talk past each other, what if we just sat down and listened? Facets of One is a simple devotional, bringing together scripture from the world's faiths, centered on one truth: God is one. From the Bible to the Quran, from Krishna to Christ, each voice speaks in turn, without argument, without division. You don't have to agree on everything. Just be willing to pray, to listen, and to come together. If you're longing for something deeper than noise and division, this is a different kind of conversation. Facets of One. Many voices, one God. Will you start a circle?
Welcome back to Creating the Image of God. I'm here with Jason Heinritz, who recently, just less than a year ago, I think, moved out to the West Coast from the Midwest and is working on helping the growth of churches and sort of participating a little bit in the mini revival that seems to be moving across this nation with a lot of young people and others, not just young people, but finding purpose and meaning in God, in Jesus, in a spiritual path. But what's the point? Where's this all leading? Obviously, personal salvation, personal life fulfillment, but also community life. And I know your book touches on a number of these things. So unpack some of that for us.
Yeah. So part of the book with being Wake Up Jesus People, half of it is really about what are those weekly routines and regiments? What are those daily regiments as well that are going to help you be your best self? But half the book is about being courageous and about spreading the gospel and just being able to be comfortable with your faith and get the word out. And I think we need to understand that we are the example, and that when people are out there looking and looking at what is a great Jesus person, or why do I want to even consider coming to church, and there's a lot of either fallen pastors or church hurt or someone who said they were Christian who created trauma in someone's life. And it's like, that's just humans being humans. And unfortunately, no one's perfect. And that's not the way God wants it. But the more we can live less like me and more like Jesus, and the more we can love people and love him, the more we can be a light, and the more we can help people feel alive again. And so when it comes to that, I feel like they can really, set themselves up for getting the word out. But you may be the only Bible some people read. And so in my case, Wade, it's like wherever I'm at, I'm not the evangelist. I'm not out there witnessing to everyone. I'm not that perfect example. But with the book and some life groups and helping out with the church, I feel like I am here surrendered, going, okay, Jesus, what's next? Guide me. Search me and break me of anything that is not right in me, and then send me to where you want. And since I've done that just a few years ago, man, the peace and joy that's come from that, the blessings from work that have come from that, have just been awesome. So again, what I'm doing right now is just trying to be my best, be an example for others as well. I'm not perfect by any means, but just an average guy who's pursuing Christ. Mm-hmm.
Well, there's that somewhat famous verse, God chose the weak and foolish to confound the mighty, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, as much success as you had and whatnot, that humility to recognize, we are nothing in God's sight in one sense, but we're everything. We're created in his image. That's the
Mm-hmm.
title of this show. We're created to be the light of the world. I love that you mentioned, you may be the only Bible somebody reads, because we are to be living the word in our daily walk. And people are supposed to see it wherever we go. They're supposed to recognize the difference between somebody who is pursuing the light, submitting to God. So tell me a little bit more about the practices. You mentioned the
Mm-hmm.
morning. What are some of the other elements in that book? And what are the
Yeah.
things we need to wake up from?
Yeah. So a couple things. So in the morning, you have your sacred start. So it's wholly set apart. It's in the morning. It could be 30 minutes. It could be 2 hours. But getting yourself right. Most people, they can't be a great Jesus person because they're stressed and they don't have energy. So they're hitting snooze to the last minute. They're rushing off to work. They aren't a great parent with their kids because they aren't the best selves. They're not full of energy and health because they aren't exercising, and they aren't fully, full of peace. So you're going to be a worse worker, parent, significant other, all of that, if you're rushed and stressed. And so part of your morning routine also starts the evening before. So what I call necessary night, which is getting your night right. It's not scrolling till midnight. It's not being out with friends partying. It is having a specific evening routine of getting ready for bed, setting yourself up, and getting started. So really, I see the evening being a start for your next day. You think about, back in Jesus' days, right? The evening started that day. It's really that day started that evening before it's sundown, right? And so, are you looking at your day as your evening as an end of the day? Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I just need to rest from the day and plop down. Or is it I'm setting up tomorrow this evening? So part of that daily routine is great. And then part of a weekly routine is having a Sabbath, like someday, it could be Sunday, could be Saturday, could be whatever works for you, but having it set apart and having it be where you refresh and you are spending time with God, you're feeling fulfilled, you're not working again, right? For me, it was 7 days a week I was working because I was trusting myself and I wanted to work and get ahead instead of going, okay, God, I'm going to give you, as you command, 1 day a week to rest and to be with you and to be filled up so that way I can be my best self going into the week. So that's been a great practice and really helpful as well. I do something called a 40 Forge challenge. I run that a few times a year. And basically it's a 40-day challenge. So if you listeners have heard of 75 Hard, which millions of people have, it's basically a Jesus version of that. So some practical steps on that is if you think of your maybe life in 40-day challenges, it could be really great because it's fun to have a challenge and something to focus on to help you get through things. And I've done this many ways, many different times, many different challenges, but I was like having some kind of challenge that I am pursuing. And so I was challenging guys at the end of my life groups I was running for a couple years. So, okay, you learned all this stuff from the book. Let's actually practice it. So I give them a 40-day challenge. 40 days is biblical, right? There's over 100 times in the Bible where 40 is mentioned. It's usually a time of testing and preparation or transition where God is preparing his people for a new stage in his plan. So the goal is that you go from where you're at now to becoming unstoppable in 40 days. And you create these habits, it becomes part of your identity. So wherever you're at right now, however you're feeling insecure or not enough or unhealthy or not a good Christian or not in your Bible, just take 40 days, challenge yourself and go for it. So I'll just mention the 40 Forge Ignite. I have 3 versions. One is really tough. It's 40 Forge Hard, but just the initial one is 40 days of no alcohol, drugs, or porn, and then exercise at least 15 minutes daily, Bible daily, prayer daily. That's it. And I think, man, if every Jesus person was just doing that, not being tied down from alcohol, drugs, or porn that really take out a lot of people, for sure. And you're just moving your body every day, and you're in the Word daily, and you're praying daily, what would happen to the Jesus people worldwide? What would happen to that example? What would happen to all their friends around them? And what would that do for that person individually? So I love challenging people on that. I love helping them get on 40-day challenges. And I love just helping them get in the game. Yeah. There's a lot of spectators, a lot of people on the sidelines that they're in the stadium, they're at church, they're there, but they're not actually on the field. They're not actually, scoring touchdowns. And so I hope through the book and through the 44 challenge that helps people get in the game and really, really wake up.
Well, I love how you've taken and created a package and a program and a focus. I want to take a step back and bring out a couple of spiritual principles, right? I often think about when Moses came down from the mountain with the 10 Commandments. We think about this. God had orchestrated all of this massive history and miracles, walking them through the Red Sea, freeing them up from Egypt. They had to wander in the desert, right, for 40 years, ultimately. But because of this, right, when Moses came down from the mountain, he had the 10 Commandments and they were dancing around the golden calf, right? But the other thing that people sometimes don't reflect on or realize is that his face was shining with the glory of God. And this was disturbing to people, so they made him put a veil over his face, right? They made him put a veil over his face so that they wouldn't be confronted with the power and the reality of it. Another commandment is we are not to take the name of the Lord our God in vain. When we wear that label, it's the label of a Christian, what people see is what they perceive about God. So there are a couple of basic little principles for young people and everybody that have always served me. One is in the book of Proverbs. It says a young man should make it fit for himself in the fields, and you should build your barn before you build your house. And this is just a principle for young people to, get an education, figure out what you're going to do with your life, get your career. And you kind of did that with the Cutco situation to get yourself that background. And that's still benefiting you now. And you've put together these principles which align with another proverb, which is make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame stumble and be turned out of the way. In other words, if you're not making straight paths, if you're trying to sort of have it all and dabble here and dabble there, the way, you described your young years, you also, it's not sustainable. You can't do that. So there are these basic physical foundational principles for young people, right? To make it fit for themselves in the field, to make sure they have a clear path, a career path, and then walk the straight and narrow. And you've created these challenges that help them do that, help them confront the challenge of, I'm not good enough for God. Put that veil over your face. I don't really want to face my true potential. I can't live up to what God expects of me. There's this high goal and this high vision and this high mission, and I'm not good enough, right? And of course, that's where Jesus' sacrifice comes in and the support that we get from the Holy Spirit to live a godly life. But I love that you've taken and packaged this up in practical ways for young people and anybody to organize their life, get on the straight and narrow, have a 40-day challenge, overcome, cast off the shackles of the sins and the weaknesses that are keeping us from fulfilling our true potential. Even that little daily exercise. Start the evening before, as you mentioned. Don't stay up too late. Make sure I love the way you've put all this together.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So, how can people connect with you? How can people connect with it? Where can they find it? I'm sure Amazon, Wake Up Jesus People. Is there a website as well?
Yes, there's wakeupjesuspeople.com, and that has a lot more about me in the book and the journal and the 44th challenge. So you can check that out. Otherwise, just on Amazon or simple Google search will lead you to my social medias or the site. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. And so there's a book. There's also like a journal or workbook that people use to track it and make sure that they're following it. Is there kind of a community as well, other people that they can connect with about it?
Yeah, so we have our Instagram page, but also we have some things in social media. That's all building right now and still building. But when someone does join the 40 Forge Challenge, they are in a group. It's like a community in our WhatsApp chat. So they're doing it together with others, and it's really fun to see the people who are in it together to support themselves or support each other, give each other encouragement, and that is recommendation that, hey, if you don't take on the 40 Forge Challenge, do something with your Jesus community, join a life group, join a challenge, something that's helping you level up. God did not make us to just coast, right? He doesn't want us to stay stagnant. He wants us to grow. He wants us to level up in our faith, but also as people. And obviously I'm biased. I love the book and the journal and the 40 Forge Challenge, but really I'm not the expert, I'm just sharing what's worked for me. So there's so many great pastors, theologians, books, programs out there. Just join something to help you level up this year, and then maybe make it a habit of every year doing something.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I think we've got a good overview now, and I've certainly learned a lot. I think I need to get back to the seriousness of that early morning routine. I have my own, but it's not, the cares of the life, the kids, the family, the this, the that gets in the way sometimes. But that early morning principle is really important. We're out of time, but what final words do you want to leave with the audience today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, get involved in a local church. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but just that's the hope of the world is the local church. Find a good Bible believing church that you can get around great people that can help level you up, hold you accountable, but also when you're in dire, like when you're done essentially, and that's right where the devil wants you, is isolated and worried. And so the more you can get around Jesus people, and the more you can share what's really going on, what you're struggling with, and all of that, like those people will support you and they'll surround you. And it's just, there's churches on every corner, right? So find a good one that you really like, that you're getting fed in, and then get involved. If you're already involved in church, great. Are you serving? Are you joining other life groups? Are you actually participating in the church? Because I've experienced, the more I've gotten into that, the more I've been like just happier and with peace and joy. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Well, Jason, thank you so much. Everyone else, or everyone in the audience, remember you are created in the image of God, and God loves his creation. Stay tuned for the sneak peek about what's coming up this coming Tuesday and next Sunday on the Created in the Image of God show. And make sure you get in touch with Jason through wakeupjesuspeople.com and or the book. And thank you so much for being here today and sharing your story and the path forward.
Yeah. Thanks, Wade. It's been great.
All right. Stay tuned for the sneak peek. We'll see you all next week.
Next week on Created in the Image of God. Sunday, July 5th at 7 a.m. U.S. Central Time, host Wade Franson interviews Tremper Longman III, Old Testament scholar, theologian, and author. He reflects on the wisdom, complexity, and enduring relevance of Scripture, and how the Bible continues to speak to modern questions and challenges, from ancient texts and theology to a deeper understanding of faith, truth, and faithful living. And then on Tuesday, July 7th at 8 p.m. Central Time, host Wade Franson interviews Jennifer J. Wiseman, astrophysicist, author, and science communicator. She explores the wonder and mystery of the universe and what scientific discovery can teach us about life, purpose, and faith. From distant stars and galaxies to the deeper questions that inspire awe, curiosity, and reflection. Join us live this week, Tuesday and Sunday. Create